Can you feel the sunlight of a brand new day? Our hands held tight together, chase the gray skies away. Can you hear the music of our lullaby? The bloodshed and the tears have passed into the night.
Hello everybody, this is Snarist, and welcome back to my Eternights Expert Mode walkthrough. This is part 15, End of the Road. And as you see right here, Umbra is about to capture Yuna, because we chose her as our romance. And now we've woken up in a sort of dream state where we have to wander back up into the first cart. And once we get the screen to come up, then we can pretty much wander anywhere we want, and eventually a cutscene will play out. And then we'll have lost our arm power. And we're coming out to the end stretch of the game. Now that Yuna's gone, we can't heal anymore. We can't do instant heal. So it's going to be a little tricky for people that may have been used to it, but it's really not that bad. Now this section here, even if you don't have the most health upgrades, the endurance skill that you've got is definitely going to pay dividends. Like you see right here, my health stat is 200 plus 107, meaning I've got 50% more health than what I have normally, or maybe it's from 100 to 300, so I have 3 times as much health. It's still not that difficult of a section, as long as you have the endurance skill, where you can survive getting hit once more after you've already reached 0 health. That's going to help out in the long run. Having some health upgrades is definitely going to pay off, and if you follow along with what upgrades I've been using, with Johan when it comes to the health upgrades there, if you invest in his ones, then you actually increase the percentage of your health, not just like +5 or +7, you actually increase the percentage, and the same goes with Chani, because he upgrades quite a bit of your health too. So yeah, as long as you invest in Chani and Johan when it comes to health, then you should be good for this section. I probably should have warned you that to begin with, but even if you don't, it's not that bad. It's not nearly going to be as luck-based or as anger-inducing as my challenge run attempt at this, where I had no upgrades to my health, no nothing, didn't have the endurance skill. Because this guy here, he's going to hit you the first time, and this route here, I'm stuck on it. What it pays to do is to move to an open area where you can get hit by the guy with the double baseball bats. It is possible to avoid him, but not at the cost of getting hit by something else. So you just more or less follow the route I'm going, move away from enemies, or move on an angle where they have a hard time hitting you. Now it's extremely cheap and bullshit because you can avoid a lot of damage around this area here, but then you'll have the first boss you properly fought at the beginning of the game. You can't go to the left because he'll hit you, and you can't go to the right because there's a couple of guys with briefcases, a couple of briefcase wankers, got the jump on you. But luckily the boss wasn't in our way, so we were able to run past him. But yeah, that section doesn't seem too bad, in spite of its horrific nature, but on the challenge run it definitely is. And, you know, yeah, if you do end up dying on it, don't worry, it's not the end of the world, it's not the hardest thing. A lot of it is to do with luck, because if that boss stands in front of you, or other enemies start swarming and surrounding your body, you're not going to be able to push past them and you'll end up getting killed. It's a shit sequence, and it definitely needed a lot more time to cook, but it's not the end of the world. And now you'll get your rank 4 upgrade for your character, which gives you all-out attack. So when you use 4 elemental fist attacks in the form of these 4 orb symbols that'll be next to your health bar, when you get them maxed out, you'll be able to unleash an all-out attack with, if you're playing on PlayStation, it'll be L1 and R1. If you're playing on Xbox, it'll be the left and right bumpers. I'm not sure what it would be like if you're on PC. After all, the game does recommend you play with a controller, because that's much better for this. But yeah, what it does is it sends down a hail of arrows, and it covers pretty much the entire combat arena. So whatever combat arena you're in, all these swords will rain down like arrows, they'll cover everything, they'll break barriers, and they'll do tons of damage. Basically, it's strong enough to kill pretty much everything in one shot. This isn't always the case, like the big berserkers with the massive like concrete street lamp clubs, whatever they're called, well, they're likely to survive it, but only just. Everything else is really toast though. And I could be ignorant here, but I could swear the first time I played this game that when you're doing attacks and you're doing dodge rolls, the protagonist doesn't make any noises, like any grunts or anything, or if he does, they're very muted. But after you've gotten this new power and you realise what's at stake and that your love interest is being held captive and you've got to separate them from Umbra, I swear their voice lines got more aggressive, or perhaps they got a little bit louder. I think that could have been an interesting part of the story, wouldn't it? That in the beginning you're still kind of meek and you're still just kind of like getting used to your powers and you're kind of excited. But now it's not excitement, now it's anger. It's focus. I don't think that's the case. I could have just been imagining it, but I think that still would have been a really cool idea. Like your character is getting a lot more confident and a lot more invested in what he's doing, rather than just doing it for funsies or just doing it because it's cool. So yeah, when I use this elemental fist, you'll see that one of the orbs has been filled up next to my health bar. And it's got the same symbol showing that the gauge has been filled and it's been used. So when you get 4 of them charged up, you'll be able to use an all-out attack. Now, I can't remember if it was my challenge run or if it was this one, but in this particular gauntlet, it can get kind of rough because there is no checkpoint up until the final encounter. There's one encounter you have to do where you have to fight one of those big guys with the giant club, and there'll also be a couple of these shiny haired projectile enemies coming at you. I don't know what to call them because they don't really have names, but yeah, there'll be a couple of them and there'll be a few other enemies spawning in at the same time as well a little bit afterwards. You can get a checkpoint on that encounter if you die, but if you die at this encounter, any of the fights in between to the next encounter where you're locked into an area, then you'll have to start this fight from the beginning. And I do remember the first time I played this that I got a little bit stuck because these fights got pretty rough and I didn't really understand the capacity that Min and Sia could do with their abilities to really mess up the enemies or to trap them and do excellent crowd control. I had no idea. So I think it's a bit of a mistake here to take the left path. The ideal thing to do is to go down the middle or go down to the right path. It's the most direct route, because this way, again, I haven't mentioned it before, but if you're not careful with enemies that are really fast, like this guy with the double baseball bats, if you're not fast at getting to the exit or getting to the next area you're supposed to fight in, sometimes those enemies can follow you through into the next encounter. So I've got an elemental fist, and I'm just going to go ahead and use it against this thing because I hate these things. And there's going to be more than one of them. And I save myself, give myself iframes by using a blast. Because blast lasts a lot longer of time than Stinger does, so it saves me there. And I don't have a lot of my elemental gauge filled up, and I'm kind of in a tough spot here. So I just freeze this enemy and start wailing away at it. And because it slowed down, I was able to get the perfect dodge pretty easily as it tried to attack me. And now I've got the all-out attack ready, although I'm pretty sure I don't use it until the next encounter. We're getting very close to the end and we'll have one more big fight just underneath this sort of, I'm guessing it's like a shadow tree or something. And Umbra's wrapped up in it, and then once we defeat all these tentacles that spawn out of the ground along with pretty much every type of enemy in the game, one after the other. And how that fight works is if you take out enough of the tentacles, then the fight will be over and it'll skip to the boss fight. But at the same time, the more tentacles you take out, and they do take quite a bit of punishment, then the more enemies you'll have to fight at the same time, and they have all sorts of dangerous enemies. So you can take out the enemies first before the tentacles. That definitely alleviates some of the stress, but the point still remains, you've got to kill the tentacles. So you can either take it little by little, taking out the enemies first and then ignoring the tentacles as they are, going to a different part of the arena that isn't occupied with them, or you can do it both at the same time, and you can sort of balance the fight. The benefit there, at least, is that when there's a lot of enemies in the arena, even though it does put you at greater risk, it gives you more opportunities to get perfect dodges in, and so you can hit more than one enemy at the same time usually because it's such a small arena and they pack so many of them in there. And you want to use your all-out attack right now here if you have it, because you're not going to be able to carry any of that into the next fight. You'll have to build it back up again. And building up your all-out attack is pretty key to defeating the tentacles, because while for the first time Sia's Ice Rain actually would come in very useful, because you'll have a lot of enemies bearing down on you, and the tentacles can definitely take a bit of punishment, and Sia's Ice Rain definitely helps. you know, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to spam those abilities and use both Min and Sia to your advantage. Unfortunately, Johan's just kind of wandering around and, you know, he's just there for moral support. He doesn't actually do anything to help you. Keep in mind as well that whatever character you want to pick, if you want to pick a character that makes the fight a bit easier by allowing Yuna to come back in and heal you, you know, you can use anybody. You can choose anybody to go away. But ultimately, as long as you've bought the upgrade as part of that character, then you can still use those upgrades and you can still have your stats affected by everything. But if they're taken away, you can't use their abilities, obviously. But if you've bought any sort of upgrade that affects your sword skills or your health or your attack or your defense, it doesn't matter. You've already bought them, your stats have already been changed, and that's set in stone. Even if the character tied to that ability has been taken away, you can still have it in effect. So don't worry too much about it. And this fight only goes on for a couple of minutes or so, because it's very short but very intense, and you'll see why in a second. So get dodges in early, take out these early enemies, build up your death blow gauge, get it in there. Ideally I wanted to use it on the tentacle because it does a lot of damage and these tentacles take a lot of punishment, but you know, it's just what it is. And they also drop these purple bombs everywhere. It's a similar attack to what the Infected Collector used near the beginning of the game that you never got to see because I killed them too fast. But these things are annoying as hell. You can't perfect dodge them, and sometimes, depending on the timing of it all, they can hit you as soon as you jump back up because they knock you on your ass, and sometimes when you get back up you still get hit by the splash damage of the next one following you, and wherever you're running towards, or wherever you're aiming to go, it'll point it in that direction and drop it on you. And if you're trying to move to the right to get away from it, the next one will appear there. So just kind of move left to right, move left to right, don't get too predictable, don't keep moving forward, kind of go all over the place. But still be aware of these other enemies, because you'll find yourself dodging those projectiles coming down on you pretty often. And, you know, it's already terrible enough you can't perfect dodge them, but when you do get out of the way of them, because you've already dodged, another enemy goes in to attack you. And when they go in to attack you, they usually hit you. And I don't know if you can hear this, but the dog in one of the neighbours nearby is barking like crazy, and I just feel like going over there sometimes and kicking that dog in the fucking mouth. Like, it barks for hours and hours in the later hours in the evening. And isn't it just the most frustrating thing when a dog barking is usually a sign that something's causing it distress, or there's something going on out there, or, you know, it's worried about something, or it hasn't been disciplined properly not to bark at everything it sees, and just to exercise a bit of restraint and just to be on guard, but you don't have to bark at everything. And like, I don't want to get too edgy with some of the reasons why that might be, and what some of the what that says about their owners and what those owners might be, but you know, I'll let your imaginations run wild. Now there's tons of enemies here, and I use the blast wave, and I love the satisfying slowdown whenever I use it, because the more enemies it hits, the more it slows down for like a half second, and there's a massive delay on just one of them, and I'm almost dead, and without Yuna around you can really feel it here. You can really feel the pressure here. And I'm only a couple of hits now. I'm definitely one hit away from being dead. And I use the blast wave to kind of push them back, get them off me. And I use one more to get it, and I got my ultimate. And I'm going to use the elemental fist, and I'm going to take out this one tentacle, and then I'm just going to immediately spring into the all-out attack. And it's going to take everything out here, and that's going to be the end of the counter. So that's enough for that, and I'll see you guys for the finale, where I fight Umbra, and then show the ending of the game. And Umbra's not too bad herself. It's just that when you get to her second phase, that's when she starts doing some bullshit and getting really, really weird and becoming rather unpredictable. But, you know, I've got some rather good news for you guys. I'll see you then.